All righty, here we are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to another edition of the Knife News Roundup with myself, RJ, and of course, my co host, Tom from Knife Delights. Couldn't do it without you, Tom.
Well, thank you much. Even though you're going to dock my pay for being late today.
That's okay. I don't think anybody will notice since this is pre recorded.
That's right. That's right. How you doing there, Rod?
I'm hanging in there, just working like crazy and doing stuff. I don't know what's going on with the lighting in the background. It looks like every once in a while it brightens up a little more, but I think it's just because the sun's coming up. Not
Yeah.
we're not having indoor lightning flashes. And for all you guys that are down in the southeast in Florida and Georgia and all this other stuff, I hope you guys are doing okay with that storm that's going on down there. So
Yep.
stay safe, and hopefully, if you watch this show, it will make things a little bit nicer for you. You won't have
Yep.
to worry about as many things.
Yep. You bet.
So, Tom, do we have any knife news to share? I actually had a hard time finding knife news. There's not a lot of sales going on right at the moment, so we're just kind of in that mode where everything is kind of slowing down. I think everything's getting ready for Black Friday, so we will have
Probably.
an entire slew of sales, and we'll have new knives being released for the holidays and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So that's
Well,
kind of where we're at.
I do have three articles we can touch on, and you'll put the links to these articles in the description box. So I'll just touch on them kind of briefly, and if anyone's interested, they can go to that link and read the full story. The first one here is from the website Gear Patrol. And the headline is This Underrated Pocket Knife Design is a Clever Way to Skirt Carry Laws. And they're talking about a new knife by WESN, and it is a friction folder. And they start out their article, before there were slide locks, liner locks, frame locks, there were friction folders. This type of knife has no lock at all. Instead, it has an extended tang that, when open, sinks between the handles to hold the knife in place. You can then lay a thumb on top of the blade tang for even more non-locking leverage. So to me, this is what was kind of referred to as the peasant knife,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
that's right. Or the penny knife was another name for
Yep.
them. Very popular. It, probably in the 1890s and then beyond. I'm sure they were made, of course, far
Yep.
beyond that. But it was one of the earlier pocket knife designs.
Yep.
Even like the Open L is kind of like that. The
Yep.
Sword knife from New Zealand, a couple different
Yep.
ones.
So it says, thanks to such a low-tech design, friction folders were among the first folding pocket knives known to man. Advancements in knife design have largely replaced them, but they present a perk beyond their simple old-timey design. Lacking any locking mechanism, friction folders are technically legal to carry anywhere locking blades aren't, like the United Kingdom and some places in the US. Today, only a handful of EDC brands offer contemporary takes on the classic pattern. One such example is from WESN. So they have a model they just come out with. It's called the SAMLA, SAMLA, and it was aimed to create a durable tool that can handle typical campsite chores along with meal prep. The SAMLA features a 2.45-inch sheep's foot blade made of Sandvik 12C27 steel and a choice between titanium or rosewood handles. And let me see here. I thought they had an MSRP. I think the MSRP was just a little over $100 or so. But if
Yeah,
anyone,
if I remember right, because I do remember seeing that about the Samla, and yeah, I think
you know,
most of the I always pronounce it Wesson, but I think
Wesson,
the Wesson knives, and they're made up in Michigan, that they are all right around $100
yep,
for their different knives and then they started a Kickstarter. I don't know when it'll be released for a pen, an EDC
Okay.
pen.
Okay. So anyway, the article brings out a good point. You can get a knife with a nice blade to it, but it's not locking. So if you're in a place where you can't have locking blades, it's a very good alternative.
Yes.
Another article here that from Knife News, CRKT reveals new Rogers designs ahead of Blade Show West. And there's several examples. There's a Persian frame lock, a pup slip joint, Q&Q compact, and the pup liner lock. So again, we'll leave a link to this article there in the description box if you want to check out some of CRKT's new designs. And then lastly, we talk about knife rights a lot, kniferights.org. And there's an article here that says Knife Rights sues Minnesota over unconstitutional switchblade ban. So here's just another example of how Knife Rights is looking out for knife owners and filing lawsuits and getting things challenged in court. And this is a September 26th, 2024 article. So this is just brand new article here. So it says Knife Rights has filed a federal lawsuit challenging Minnesota's complete ban on switchblades or automatically opening knives. Despite the Supreme Court's binding Second Amendment precedent, the state of Minnesota virtually completely prohibits the manufacture, transfer, and possession of common automatically opening knives. The sole exception to this ban is for possession by museums or collectors of art or for other lawful purposes of public exhibition. The state's ban denies individuals who reside in or visit Minnesota their fundamental individual right to keep and bear these common, constitutionally protected arms. So again, another point of this article and something that we've talked about before, you have to be careful when you're traveling. You travel to a state, and if that state doesn't have a preemption law, that means cities and counties can come up with their own stricter ordinances, and next thing you know, you get pulled over for speeding or something, and you're getting jammed up because the officer sees a banned knife in their state or their jurisdiction. So just beware, everybody. And once again, check out kniferights.org. If you got a couple bucks to send them, or a membership is, I think, $35 a year, help support that wonderful organization. They're looking out for you.
Yes, they are.
And that's pretty much my Knife News Roundup.
Okay, good stuff, Tom.
Thank you.
Well, we had a question of the week, and so here's our show and tell portion. We asked, what was your favorite blade shape? So we'll go over, we had actually a couple of ties. We had a tie for first place and a tie for second place. So our tie we'll go through the second place ones first. There were actually 2 votes for the Bowie knife. They love the double swedge, big clip point of a Bowie knife. I think this old timer Bowie is probably one of the nicer production ones that you can get. Really think it's a great value, and what a great blade shape it has.
Do I dare do it? Do I dare do it, RJ?
I don't know. You taught him, so.
Go ahead and continue. I'll be right back.
Okay. The next one that we had was a couple of votes for the Wharncliffe blade. And so this is the Rough Rider work knife. And so I think that this was probably one of the great examples of a fantastic Wharncliffe. For our, oh my goodness, it's the return of Junior. Junior, what kind of knife is that?
I love my Bowie knife. Bowie all the way. Bowie.
Oh, you guys had to see that coming. We'll do an honorable mention before we get to our tie for first place. We did have a vote for the Hawkbill knife, and this is an old timer electrician's knife. And so there's quite a few electrician knives that have a Hawkbill on them, and they are a handy blade, especially if you're doing electrical work or carpet cutting and stuff like that. So our next ones, we had the two-way tie. You guys can probably guess. Number one is a spear. This is the Rough Rider Senator. This is the Appaloosa Bone series. So you got the spear point blade there. It just looks, it's the light hitting the swedge on top. And then for the clip point, I had to get out the old Roper Pecos. I think it's got one of the nicer clip points on there. It's definitely a cool little knife. So there you go.
You can't even see the weld lines in that blade, can you?
I know. It's amazing. The tip looks perfect.
I can't believe Junior broke the tip on that.
I know. Junior broke this knife. Tom welded it back expertly, and it even got lost for a while, and it showed up in the washing machine or something like that. And
yeah. I'll tell us real quick the story. RJ sent me that. That's one of his favorite knives. Not so much recently, but as you know, a couple years ago, you talked about that knife like every video you talked about.
Just about.
You love that knife. Anyway, he sent it to me to review and to use and to carry for a while. That's okay. And I understand why he likes that knife. It's a really nice knife. But I got into panic. It's like it's been 2 months. I got to get this knife back to RJ, and I couldn't find it. And I was tearing the house apart. I could not find it, but eventually I did find it. So I was like, whoo. But that's the story behind the Pecos.
Yep, but behind the story, when Tom told me he'd lost it and stuff, I was like, "It's okay, Tom. I can always get another one. It's not the end of the world." Yeah. But I was glad you found it. Anyways, it's nice to have the original back.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a cool knife, and I haven't. It's still in my favorite knives. I would say that's in my top 5 easily. Yeah. It's just that you get to reviewing other things and carrying other things, and it's not that it's forgotten. It's just not the star of all the videos anymore.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So that was it for our question of last week, the answer. So we'll go to the question for this week, which is, what is your favorite pattern? Because did we do pattern already? I think we did.
We did pattern. How about?
Yeah, we did pattern. We did blade shape. All right. So now we got your pattern. We got your blade shape. Let's find out what's your favorite steel. What do you guys like? You still like the 1095 carbon? Are you into the bigger and better stainless steels, or like Magna Cut, or even some of the other ones, the M390s, M690s, all that kind of stuff? Or are you just happy with D2? It doesn't matter. Go ahead and share your experiences in the comments below. What kind of steels you like, what you prefer, what you're looking for when you go to buy a knife. What steel matters to you?
Yep. That's a good question.
Yep, thank you. All right, so I guess we're at videos of the week.
Yeah, I watched one. Well, actually, I confess, I didn't get through the entire video, but it was by Outdoors 55, a well-known knife channel. I kind of started watching his channel years ago over his sharpening. He does some wonderful sharpening videos.
Yes.
But this video, he's discussing the knife world controversy with Neves knives. And basically the discussion is, having knives being made in China. And of course, here we are touching the third rail here, because this is such a controversial topic. But I thought it very interesting, and they bring out a lot of good points about, there's companies here in the U.S. that have their knives made in China, but it's still a US based company. And they're talking about, because they're based in the US, they're still hiring people to fulfill their orders. They're still, hiring web designers to run their web page. So there is still money being made here in the US and supporting the US. And then they go into the reason why so many of them are made in China, because I think each one of them has designed a knife and wanted to have one made. And they were both like, it was almost impossible to find a knife manufacturer in the US to even agree to make the knife. And in the rare occasions they would find a company, the cost was just outrageous.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I have it manufactured in the US, but the price is going to be so high. It's going to be 3 times the cost of something comparable from China. Who's going to want to spend basically 3 times the money for the same knife? And
Right.
it just goes through the struggles. And so I just thought that was very interesting, and I think everyone should watch that. If, again, controversial. We all wish they were made in the U.S., but just the business climate here in the U.S. and don't want to get into all the politics, but
Well,
it's
I
not
mean, the
just
thing,
knives; it's all kinds of manufacturing here in the U.S.
right.
The government has put in so many restrictions and costs that people just can't afford to do it unless you're an old established company and you already have your infrastructure like Buck and Case. But as a startup, you just can't do it. It's terribly
Right.
expensive.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I am hoping that they are going to revisit that, and that we'll get some more manufacturing back over here.
Mhm.
But you're right, for so many products, not just pocket knives, but other things, that it's much cheaper to get those things made overseas and import them. You're still going to pay a lower price for it at the retail spot, even with taxes, tariffs, and all that other stuff that would be avoided by having it made in the U.S.
Yep.
And really, we have to go back to probably around the 1950s to see where this all started. And then, of course, it just kept ramping up through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s.
Well,
Uh,
you go back even
so,
further than that. A lot of our knives were imported from Sheffield, England, or from
right.
Germany. I mean, you go back colonial days; they were all imports. You know,
Well, yeah,
this is
exactly.
not new. It's just the country has changed. I mean, you look after World War II, a lot of them were being made in Japan. Uh, post-war Japan. I remember growing up in the transistor radio
Yes.
came from Japan, right?
Right.
And all kinds of your little toys and party favors and stuff like that. And I remember people referring to it as just Japanese junk.
Right.
Well, as their economy grew and they got better at stuff, they got known for their high quality electronics and stuff such as that, and their cars. Um, and the knives, a lot of them switched from Japan to Taiwan because they found out it was cheaper to do it in Taiwan. Well, Taiwan made a lot of our knives for a long
Right.
time. Well, now it's switched to China. So this is nothing new.
Right.
This is just economics and the way things happen. So
And to tell you the truth, if you look at knives like this Rough Rider, they really are a very good knife for the money. Because where else are you going to get a knife like this uh, that's under $20, and it's going to
yeah,
last you all day long. It's going to work fantastic. So it's
yeah,
not that they're junky products. A lot of times they rival what you can get in America.
yeah,
There's lots of good knives that are made overseas.
yeah.
So the craftsmanship is there, the skill is there. So the politics is what messes everything up, I
That's
guess.
the politics. I know. And I know people don't like the Chinese form of government. I get all of that, you know.
Right.
But when you think about it, so I don't want to name a company, but let's just think of a company that's stateside, but their stuff is manufactured in China. If we stop supporting them and buying them, then that U.S. company goes away completely. And the next thing you know, the whole operation, including the design and everything, is all done in China, and the U.S. is cut out of it completely. So, you
Right.
know, balance the scales there.
Yeah. Yeah. But remember when we had Knives Fast was on here on
Uh-huh.
one of our live shows, and we were talking about getting knives built, and he said the same thing, that he could get his knives built, the Tempest knives, over in China much easier than the
Yeah.
U.S. And he tried to source U.S. and basically that was the whole thing, is that cost wise, it's just prohibitive. But when you look at a factory, for them to basically shut down a line, retool for just this one knife, and it's basically it's a sprint run is what you're doing, because
Right.
you're only going to make maybe at the most 1,000 of these knives versus their regular production, their bread and butter and stuff, for putting out stuff. It's just
Well, even getting the prototype made,
yeah,
because to shut down and get the tooling just to make a particular prototype, what's a prototype cost? 4 times the amount of just what the average cost of the knife.
right, yeah,
So, I mean, there's a huge investment just trying to get a prototype made.
yeah, yeah. So it's just one of those things that modern manufacturing being what it is, we'll have to see what happens in the future,
Yep,
but they are talking about bringing back more factory jobs here, which I think we definitely need,
we
to
certainly
shore
do.
up
Yep.
our own economy.
Yep. So,
So, okay, we'll
leave your thoughts in the comments.
yeah,
I'm
leave
sure
your
we'll get
thoughts in the
some
comments.
lively.
Tell us how we're Chinese sympathizers, and
Yeah. Whenever you bring this topic up, you always get some
it's funny
pretty
because I,
nasty comments at times.
I I hadn't I hadn't got a comment like this in a long time, but somebody said, yeah, you need to stay away from them Chinese junk knives and just buy case.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. All righty. Well, I guess next video on mine, believe it or not, was one of yours, Tom.
Oh, wow.
I really loved watching Tom's brother take over. His big brother video was, I thought, very entertaining and very cool, because he went and got a whole bunch of knives, and Tom was the cameraman, and his brother had to see what it was like to be a YouTube celebrity. So I thought that was kind of fun. So
What was what
watching
was
a mere
fun?
mortal do Tom's job.
You know what was fun to watch him do? He's trying to open up a Stockman, and
Right.
he can't find the nail nick because of the camera and all this. He's, I don't know how you do this, Tom. This is
Yeah.
hard. So yeah, to everyone that doesn't record knife reviews, there's a little trick. It takes a while to
It
learn
does.
how to open things up, and it's uh, like a knife with a flipper tab on it. You can
Right.
sit there and you can open, not a problem. And then you get it around the camera and you go to open it and you foul it every time. You're like,
Absolutely. I can always do it off camera, and then putting it in front of the camera, it's a whole different, because you're holding your arm and your hand and wrist in a different orientation, and not one where you would naturally use
right.
a knife or naturally open a thing. So there's a little tricks and stuff. You get kind of used to it, but it's weird.
It is weird. Yeah. So, no, I always have a lot of fun with my big brother. And I tell you what, he's really gotten an eye. He really is starting to get a good eye.
Yeah, I thought he had picked out some really marvelous knives, some really cool vintage knives. So if you haven't seen that one, be sure to take a look at that. So that
There's
was
a
that was a good one.
wonderful, the last knife he shows, and I won't give it away, but the last knife he shows is like, I can't believe you got that for the price
Yeah,
you got it at. So,
exactly. Well, for price of the week, I was looking on Reddit and in their knife forums, and there was a guy in the case forum at a yard sale. He picked up a Dale Earnhardt Trapper with the number 3 shield, and he got it for $3.
Wow.
And that's with the tin and everything. I was just like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
I told him that's the steal of the year.
yep.
So,
You bet.
and actually, that guy and I have exchanged a couple emails since then. So
Great.
it's pretty cool. My interview with the custom knife maker is going to happen in the future. We tried to get on StreamYard, and he had technical difficulties, so he was going to get a new webcam. And so when he does that, then we'll have that. But that's coming. I had a really nice phone conversation with him, and after talking to him, I realized that as a collector and stuff, my knowledge is down here, compared to the real guys,
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna have to go back to school. I'm gonna have to take Knifeology 101.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of it's funny when you talk to people like that with a whole lot more depth of knowledge, you realize just how little, I mean, just barely scratch the surface is where I'm at compared to some of these guys that they can go way down deep.
It takes the I'm a self-appointed internet expert. It just kind of deflates that balloon, doesn't it?
Well, I've never claimed to be one, so
I know nothing.
Yeah, no kidding. I realized after talking to him why YouTube knife review people get a bad reputation in the knife collecting community.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
I'm part of the problem. So that's the thing, is that when you realize that you're part of the problem, isn't that the first step to recovery?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah.
So
that's for sure.
So I'm going to rededicate myself to learning even more.
Yep. Well, I would like to highlight a channel here, if I may.
Of course.
I would like to highlight my good old friend Kirby Creek. Kirby Creek Mo is the name of his channel now. That Mo is just so talented with his wood carving.
He is.
And he also has trail cams he puts out on his property, and all kinds of neat wildlife photos and videos, and his videos are so expertly done. I mean, they're just a joy to watch with the whole presentation and the way he has it flowing and the music, and he just does a wonderful job. So I want to just give a hat tip to Kirby Creek Mo.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to call out my favorite knife tuber, Michael Richter of Richter's Knives.
There you go.
He's got a fantastic channel. He also is the mayor of Teenertown. So if you like Teeners on your knives, then definitely check him out. But he's always got a great collection, and I enjoy his videos.
Yep, that's great. So coming up on Knife Delights, the only real project that I have planned now is to continue to work on that Marbles Pocket Safety Axe. And what a project, and what a wonderful doing the research and stuff. Those things are kind of rare, and they're rather valuable, actually. So I don't think Ray knew what he had. But for anyone just watching this, I got we'd call it a hatchet. Marbles called it a pocket axe with the safety guard on it, and it's probably from the late 1800s to early 1900s. It's one of the early models, and it's just a wonderful hatchet, and I've been trying to get it restored.
Yeah. It makes you think that if that was a pocket axe, they must have had really big pockets back then.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
It's definitely bigger than a back pocket knife.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and of course, Marbles had the safety knife that had the same kind of a folding guard that would cover the blade, but the handle on those I still think is rather short. They could have done a little longer and still had big long blade.
Yeah.
But those are interesting to look at. And you can still get those the reproductions of the safety knife.
Yeah.
So they're
And there are some of the reproduction marble safety axes. Of course,
yeah.
marbles. Is it SMKW that bought that name?
They actually, from what I understand, they may not own the name, but there's a different company that does. But
Okay.
they allow SMKW to, basically manufacture and sell the
Okay.
uh,
So
the different patterns and stuff.
there are still marbles, knives, and axes being made, but they're not from the original company.
Right. Yeah, they're not the original. These are made in China, but they're
Right.
and I don't know if they're made at the same plant that makes Rough Riders and stuff like that, possibly. But
Good.
I think we both had reviewed several different marbles knives, and
Yep.
they're good knives.
Yep. They are. They sure are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my wrap up for the week.
Yeah, kind of mine too. Kind of light on some of the other stuff, but heavy on others.
That's right. That's right.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for this one. Go ahead and leave us comments. Let us know your favorite steels. Let us know what you think about China. No, not really, but yeah, you
Not
can.
really. Yes, but no.
And then
Show some kindness when you're talking about your.
yeah, don't shoot the messengers.
That's right.
And that's it for this Knife News Roundup. We will see you guys next week. You all take it easy and have a good weekend.